Howdy folks, welcome to the channel Rockin' the Country. I'm Don. I got a smile on my face because this is what I'm calling my post-employment tour. And it's really dedications I'm making to people to honor them, to let them know the difference they made in my life just by doing a reaction or two in their honor. And this one goes out to Nick. Nick was really cool to work with. Love the guy. And those of you who may not have seen some of the other reactions that I've done in this vein is that I had worked in a wine liquor store for 10 months, and roughly 2 to 3 weeks ago was my last day there because I moved and now I'm 45 minutes away and it just didn't make sense. So I made a lot of friends. My colleagues, they were wonderful. Love them. Funny, engaging, definitely full of personality. And some of the customers too. And I just have fun with people because I'm a social guy. And some of them are very social people, and they were a lot of fun too. But this one goes to Nick. And I don't know this song. It's a reaction. And nobody requested this. They don't know that I'm doing these songs for them, which is part of the fun. Chris Stapleton's Starting Over. So without going into the details of that one, there we go. This is for you, Nick.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
And Chris is the real deal.
To a better place than the one we're at. And I ain't got no kind of plan that I've had all of this town I can stand. And I got friends out on the coast. We can jump in the water and see what flows. Saving for a rainy day. Let's beat the storm and be on our way. And it don't matter to me wherever we are, where I wanna be. And honey, for once in our lives, let's take our chances and roll the dice. I can be your lucky penny, you can be my four-leaf clover, starting over.
I love this. I love this for you, Nick.
This might not be an easy time. There's rivers to cross and hills to climb. Some days we might fall apart, and some nights might feel cold and dark. But nobody wins afraid of losing. And the hard roads are the ones we're choosing.
Nobody wins afraid of losing.
Someday we'll look back and smile and know it was worth every mile. It don't matter to me wherever we are, where I wanna be. And honey, for once in our lives, let's take our chances and roll the dice. I can be your lucky penny, can be my four-leaf clover, starting over.
I don't want to lose this thought. I have said it before in other songs. There's a risk to changing. There's a risk to not changing. Everything you do, in a sense, is a choice. Same thing in relationships. If you decide to get into a relationship, that's the one thing you're committed to. Not any of these other women or men are any longer. That one person. When you make any kind of change, it's a risk. But there's a risk to staying wherever you are. And this just goes on throughout life, regardless of whatever circumstances you're in. That's just a fact of life.
Starting over. It don't matter to me wherever we are, where I wanna be. And honey, for once in our life, let's take our chances and roll the dice. And I can be your lucky penny, you can be my four-leaf clover.
They outlawed pennies. They discontinued them.
Starting over.
Construction of a song. I love seeing the process, like when they're in studio, and it's when you hear a song or when you see a movie or you read a book, read an article, you think, oh, that's just kind of the way it came out, because that's all you know. When you're in behind the scenes, you know it's chaos happening all the time, and you've got to create sort of order out of the chaos. And when you're creating a song, you're like, when you saw Chris go like this, I'm sure he was like, should I hit that note harder? Or, you're thinking it through. A producer is the one who puts the songs together. Do you bring something in now? Do we bring a fiddle in now? Or should we keep the guitar in a little bit longer and then bring in steel instead? And you're coming up with all these ideas. And, the notes are words to a producer every bit as much as the lyrics are to the songwriter. They all matter. They all have their place. You put thought into it. And there's always what we would call a risk to leaving something a certain way versus swapping out a word and going with a different rhyme scheme or whatever you have. And on a larger scale, I know this as a life coach when I work with people who are thinking of leaving relationships or thinking of switching careers or big decisions that we look at, or thinking of moving, or just maybe they're estranged from their child and they're grown child, let's say, but they miss them and they're thinking of reaching out. But the emotional, there's a risk to taking that action. There's also a risk to not taking it, because you might never know. And that's the one thing people will say is a cliche, that you won't know unless you try. And that's the thing, that fear of failure. And that's how I hear this song. I mean, in the context of the song, he's talking with his wife. It's addressed to his wife that we've saved enough money. Let's give it a shot out of the coast, throw stuff in the water and see if it floats. And it's like, let's see what works. Let's try it. Let's live on the edge. And I don't think you start over. I think you just continue life's journey in a different path. And you're taking on new risk versus the comfort of what you know. But, when we envision ourselves, I know I did this when my ex and I opened the dance studio 30 years ago. I wasn't a dancer. And I gave up going to law school to stay in the business, to be in the business, to start the business, to run it. And that was a risk. And sometimes I look back and I wonder, what would it have been like had I gone to law school? Because I have a legal mind. My professors almost all told me that, even unsolicitedly. My philosophy professors said that. But I don't regret it. We did well there. But I don't have to look back and wonder, what would it have been like had I opened that school? Some of the dearest relationships, deepest relationships I have in my life are some of the people, most moms who I met in the dance studio. And we are very close, very dear friends. They trust me. I trust them. Their husbands are wonderful, those who have husbands. And I love those relationships. I don't have to wonder. So starting over, sure, I get what Chris means by this. And sometimes we want to do something different and it feels like we're starting completely over. What we're really doing is taking the risk to start something new. And you know what? It might work. It just might work. At least you'll know. All right. So, I'm going to rate this one, Mr. Nick, Saint Nick. The number that popped into my head right away was a 9.2. I mean, I bet if I listen to this thing in like 3 or 5 years, I'll probably give it a higher score. But that's how I felt it in the moment. So I'm going to go with that. And I'm also wearing my Bullet Bourbon hat because my friend's son used to work for Diageo, and he got me this a few years ago. And I like it. There you go. All right, guys. Have a wonderful day. Nick, you know my thoughts. And so there you go. Have a great day, folks. See you on another video and keep rocking the country.
It don't